know is don't touch the bricks. Just don't even touch them at all. Period. But really, from like personal experience, what I saw happening during the BLM protests of 2020 was only where protest routes were and where encampments were, these pallets of bricks were just dropped, and everybody was understandably suspect of it because the cops slash government, whatever, FBI, CIA, cops will just do shysty petty shit to try and get a movement to look bad or act bad. Like, there'll be plainclothes cops at protests telling people to just go fuck up a building, and so that's what those bricks are speculated to be about, but it's a pretty strong speculation because of the long history of petty bullshit that the government does to try and destabilize progressive political movements. And that's just from being aware of and around the 2020 protests was, oh, why are there bricks in Portland right around where the encampments are, right around where the protests are? Why are there pallets of bricks showing up in Minneapolis right around the encampment where George Floyd was lynched? Why are there bricks showing up all over the country right around protest times in protest areas? It's suspect. So don't touch the bricks. And for anyone who gets into sustained long-term activism, community organizing, and things like that, unfortunately, you do have to be wary of and consider that, honestly, no matter how small your group is, there may very well be a plant. So if you got a buddy, even if you've known them for years, and they tell you they want to start going in, like, I don't know, you're fighting against the lumber industry, they want you to go fuck up machinery, don't. That's a plant. Absolutely not. You know, you're protesting DAPL and the pipelines. They want you to go fuck up the pipeline? No, that's a plant. And so it is so imperative that everyone protesting or organizing for the rights and freedoms of all, against the oppressive systems, blah, 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 all of that, to have a very strong moral compass and a very clear understanding of the do's and don'ts of how to function. And what you don't do is you don't touch the bricks, and you don't participate in anything violent or destructive, because it will come back around and bite the entire movement on the ass. The mainstream media does not do nuance. No, absolutely not. Mainstream media will villainize anything seen as violence or aggressive or agitating, you know? And they will just take that blanket statement and lay it all the way across all the validity that is within the frustrations of the people. They'll be like, you guys suck, so you don't get this. You don't get your human rights because you guys are acting out. And so just don't. That's why non-violent protest tactics are not just the safest, not for you necessarily as like a non-violent protester, but just like umbrella safest way to move forward, because it makes muddied waters as clear as possible. As clear as possible. Like, there was an FBI informant for years within the Black Panthers that was actually there when Fred Hampton was murdered by our government. CIA, FBI, I can't remember right now, but it was one of the two, you know? Has anybody heard of the LA 8? Anybody? Bueller? The LA 8 were a group of activists, Palestinian, back in the 80s. They were students that were extremely effective at organizing and doing protests and teach-ins and things like that. And there was a government informant within that group for 3 years before the informant essentially realized that they are just too well organized and too on top of their shit to actually do any kind of destabilization from the inside with bad advice. So, you know, they took them out differently through, you know, changing of laws and stuff in relation to immigration and stuff. So just be wary. Don't touch the fucking bricks. Don't touch the bricks.
Do not touch the bricks. Okay. I was there for the George Floyd protests. I was at the Capitol Hill for a couple of the days that the protests were happening. And I very vividly remember on the first day that I was there were not the bricks. The bricks did not exist. On the second day that I went with some friends, they were there. They were on a side street by Capitol Hill. And they were marked off as a construction area. But the bricks were there, and the pallets, there wasn't anything wrapped up around the pallets. They were just bricks. This is first-hand account. They were there. They're going to be there for all the protests happening in all of the major cities today through the 5th. Do not touch the bricks. Leave them alone. That's all.
If they want you to be violent, they're a fed. If they want you to be violent, they're a fed. If they want you to be violent, you have the right to remain silent. If they want you to be violent, they're a fed. If they want you to be violent, they're a fed. What?
Warning, don't touch the bricks. And by the bricks, I mean the ones that are going to show up on the mysterious pallets outside of federal buildings, and I think already have.
The building, and I should say the entrance of the building, from any potential unrest.
They got them bricks, bro. They are protesting. Shit crazy. Some random ass bricks, bro. Ain't no construction.
Could happen ahead of the, once the DNC does come around here, since we are anticipating some protests.
Look, there's another pile of these random ass bricks. That's what they did in Atlanta. That's what they did in Dallas. They said
to take place. Now, the Chicago Board of Services says their crews have been busy the last few days boarding up businesses to get ahead of potential damages.
This right here?
Yeah, they put them
This the setup.
Are those fucking bricks?
Now, so far, they've secured 12 locations around the West Loop, downtown and Daly Plaza area, with plans to board up additional businesses this weekend as a preventative measure.
these guys got a cart full of bricks. Chat, would you assume that these people are rebuilding? They're rebuilding the city with these bricks.